Radio 2's House Music with Ken Bruce.
Yes, it's time for another one of our very special house music sessions. Our way of keeping live performance going in these difficult times. Since April, we've been welcoming, virtually, stars performing like James Blunt, Kelly Clarkson, Melanie C, Aloe Black, Ronan Keating, just last week, Amy MacDonald. And with something really special for you today, the latest house music comes to us courtesy of one of the most successful artists of all time. He's sold over 250 million records worldwide. Just let that figure sink in. The third biggest chart act in UK history, behind only the Beatles and Elvis. And recently, he set a milestone with his new album, Music, The Air That I Breathe, when he became the first artist to have a top 5 album across 8 different decades. Of course, I'm talking about Sir Cliff Richard. And I caught up with Cliff a little bit earlier, first of all asking him if he ever imagined he would still be making hit albums in his 80s when he started out.
No, I can't really honestly say that, because at the very beginning of my career, the Drifters and I then became the Shadows, and me, Cliff and the Shadows. We were bundled up with a lot of rock and roll that was starting here, and the press and the media tended to say things like one-hit wonders or here today, gone tomorrow. And after a little while, of course, you start to think maybe that's true. It wasn't until the 10th year, till 1968, that I suddenly thought, oh my God, we're still here. So we're obviously not one-hit wonders. And then longevity was like within my grasp. And I realized now that if you want that longevity, you need to work twice as hard or maybe 3 times as hard to keep your career going.
Now, lockdown has been tough, different certainly for many people. How have you coped with it?
Well, I mean, I was in Barbados in March. When it started in Barbados, the lockdown went almost immediately. And so when I was locked down, of course, I had to do what everybody else did. In the house, there were 3 gardeners that used to come in, and a couple of ladies came to look after me. I had to say to them, look, please collect your money on Friday, but you can't come in. So for me, I learned a lot. I learned how to clean toilets. I've hoovered. I make beds. I can do the washing, and I can use the washing machine. I can cook, scrambled eggs. So I learned a lot. I think sometimes you need a disaster to bring you down to earth and make you become just another human being again. If my career ends, I could take up housekeeping.
Now, the singers that you've been able to work with on this album, how did these collaborations come about?
Well, usually when you do a duet, for instance, when I recorded with Olivia Newton-John way back, she called me because she was doing an album, and fortunately for me, it was Xanadu, and her co-star couldn't sing. So I got the job, and I did Suddenly with her. She asked me, and then, of course, later I was able to release that on one of my albums. And the same thing goes with these, the piano guys, Sheila Walsh, Bonnie Tyler, the Bellamy brothers. They said, would you do a duet? And I was thinking, yeah, I'd love to sing with these people. Bonnie Tyler was a treat. So were the others. If somebody else asks you to do a duet with them, I felt quite flattered.
And is there anybody that in the years gone by you wish you'd had the chance to work with, and anybody in the years to come you think, oh, I'd like to do a bit of singing alongside them?
Well, I mean, there's loads of people, I'd love to do a track with Mariah Carey. I mean, because it's so, I don't think I could. I mean, the woman has about a 4 or 5 octave range, and I've got, half an octave. So it would be tough. But for me to sing with Bonnie Tyler, for instance, I mean, Bonnie Tyler's the only one I know that can drown out an audience of 5,000 people. She has got this big voice. She sang Happy Birthday to me at the Albert Hall when I was 75. And I couldn't hear the audience. I could only hear the body. And so singing with someone like that is really quite a challenge for me. And again, I thought that we sounded really good together.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely. Now, we're going to hear very special orchestral tracks, a couple of them from you this morning. The first is a version of your new single, Falling For You. Set that song up for us, please.
Well, it's a song really about somebody who's happy on his own until he meets someone. And isn't that probably true for everybody? You just, I was happy living life on my own without the heartaches. I was getting used to being alone on my own. And then suddenly he meets someone, and off it goes. The relationship changes. Well, he didn't have one before. So it's a simple idea. But I always feel that that's sometimes what we've lost, that there's the simplicity of all that basic rock and roll that kicked off everything that we listen to now. Whether people like it or not, whether they're rap or Ed Sheeran or anybody today, they have had 62 years of influences, and they may not even realize it, but it's true.
And let's listen to it now, performing with the BBC Concert Orchestra, Cliff Richard and Falling for You. And a special Radio 2 house music performance of Falling for You. You can also see that performance, by the way, if you go to the BBC Music YouTube channel, but do that later. I'll tell you all about it in a little while. But let's speak to Cliff again. It's a chat we recorded earlier. This time I asked about his recent autobiography, whether it was kind of daunting putting pen to paper, given all that he's packed into his career.
Well, I actually got the help of a friend. I was never quite sure, whether I could ever write a book on my own. So what Ian Gitton did, who's an author, he came to Portugal, where I was living at the time. I was there for the summer, and he spent 5 or 6 days with me and pumped me. I mean, just asked question after question after question. The funny thing is, I could remember periods. I could remember a lot of what I had done. But when I read the book, I did the audio version myself. It was funny to me to read it, because suddenly I was moved by what happened, and I began thinking, am I really reading about me? I was. But no one's more surprised than me that I've actually survived the years. And it seems to me now that I'm 80, I realize it wasn't just the years, Ken. I had to survive amazing competition. Some of that competition is still around. And so I could never grumble about my career at all. And would I change anything in it? No, I wouldn't. But writing the book has helped me to actually see and start to appreciate what the audiences have let me do. I mean, when you think about it, yes, you have to have something to offer, but without fans, I think it stops at the beginning.
What's left for you to achieve in music? What are your next moves?
I don't know it really. It's. I mean, as you mentioned very, very early on in our chat here, that I've managed to keep alongside what's happening. I mean, if I can physically remain healthy, I mean, in fact, aging well is based mostly on your health, and God has given me good health throughout my life. So if I can still stay around and stay with it, there's no reason why I can't record. It's, as I say, I go into a studio, and if I had nothing else to do, if I couldn't do anything else in show business, and I could do one thing, I would choose, let me record. I'd happily spend every day in a studio just recording. I've always enjoyed it. So, and also, there's no way that you ever get to that perfect moment that you long for. So in the end, you go into the studio wanting to be better, knowing that perfection is probably out of our reach, but one can always improve. So I've always made a slight joke of it, saying, well, look, I've got to spend the rest of my life doing it all over again and trying to get it right.
Well, I can tell you, the track you've recorded for us with the BBC Concert Orchestra, I think you have got absolutely right. It's your biggest selling single of all time. Why, out of all your work, a massive range of work, why do you think this song connected with people quite so much?
Well, again, it's a strange record in a way, because the lyric is not a happy lyric, and yet when I sing it on stage, everybody's bouncing and waving. It's so funny how we don't talk anymore. We're going to have a divorce. It's so funny. It's actually a breakdown of a relationship. But Alan Tarney, who wrote it, wrote a great melody. I mean, it's a great lyric, and it doesn't matter that I feel it's a little strange, but the combination never bothered anybody. And it became, I think we sold maybe 2.5 million worldwide on that one song. And it was a hit in the States too. I've only had 2 records that have been in the top 10 in America, Devil Woman and We Don't Talk Anymore. So for me, I've had a blessed life, really, because I found myself surrounded by people who are much better than I am at many things. I even had 3 vocalists that could see me on the table, and yet somehow I survived everybody. It's one of those things that I guess I'll always consider myself fortunate that they gave me great songs to sing. It's hard for a singer not to have a hit with a great song. Maybe not a number 1, but it's quite nice to just be in the top 10 or the top 20, really.
Well, we want to hear this song, which I'm sure could get into the top 10 or 20 any day now if we released it. It's you and the BBC Concert Orchestra we're going to listen to. It's a fabulous recording. Can't wait to hear it. Cliff, such a delight to talk to you. Many, many more years of music making, and we hope you continue for as long as you want to.
And thank you so much, and thank you for all your help with this and being interested in what I'm doing. I need to say thank you so much for that.
House music on Radio 2 with Ken Bruce.
Isn't that good? It's great. It's Cliff and the BBC Concert Orchestra, an exclusive new version of We Don't Talk Anymore, just for Radio 2's House Music series. Cliff recorded his vocals in Leafy, Surrey. The orchestra were all recording in their own homes across the country, and once again, it was all beautifully mixed together by our terrific live music teams. A real wonderful effort, that. Well done. And you can watch, as I was saying, you can watch Cliff and the Concert Orchestra performing both of the tracks from today's session, after I finished, obviously. And it's lovely to see. It's lovely to see the orchestra there, and because I know many members of the orchestra. It's lovely to see them all from my point of view. You can also see, people like Pete Callard doing that guitar solo there, and Matt Senior on the drums. And also, once you've viewed those, there's a host of other great house music performances on the BBC Music YouTube channel, and on our Twitter and Instagram pages later this afternoon. You'll be able to see as well as hear more of that chat I had with Cliff. Back here on the radio, though, the live music will keep on coming. With us in 2 weeks' time will be Travis performing a recent and a classic track for us alongside the BBC Concert Orchestra once again. That's more house music here on Radio 2.
House music on Radio 2 with Ken Bruce.